Well, good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, wherever you may be in the world, and welcome back to the Creator Series WRC event once again here on a Monday evening where some of your favourite content creators go head to head to see who's the best, not necessarily on the track, but on the beaten gravel path. Once again, I'm TK, and alongside me is the wonderful Isa Musing to bring all of his rally knowledge. Isa, how are you doing today?
I'm doing ever so well, and I am absolutely stoked for this one. Round 3, Italy, Sardinia, as you said. Have to mention, though, Rally 1 cars, all of that battery hybrid gloriousness. It's going to be tricky for the drivers, that's for sure. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it's an interesting stage to say the least. We've got a couple of new faces in here today as well. We'll let you figure them out as we go along. Our drivers just getting themselves prepped and ready. But briefly before we went live, we did see the trailer for season 5 of the Rally Pass. Now, I'm not massively involved in the rally scene. For me, that looks incredible. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, obviously, having more liveries to play with is ever so nice. Expressing your creativity is always something you want to do in rally, both in the driving style, sometimes in the crashes, but definitely on your car and helmet and overalls. You can see many of the drivers have their own custom helmets and all of that, so why don't you get one too?
Exactly that, of course. A lot of our creators here expressing themselves in crashes probably more frequently than some prefer professional driving, shall I say, as words begin to fail me for the first time on this Monday evening. But of course, if you are new here, welcome to the Creator Series. Whether you're watching on all of our channels or on the official WRC YouTube channel, we welcome you all to what is going to be a fantastic night of racing through the hills of Italy. And of course, it boasts some historic numbers, doesn't it? Sebastian Loeb being a four-time winner here, the Subaru WRX, of course, taking victories in the early 2000s. It really has some history.
And importantly, just yesterday, Sebastian Ogier missing out on a record 5th victory by 2/10 of a second, getting a puncture on quite literally the last downhill section of the rally, pushing a tire off the rim, losing approximately 6 seconds and losing out by 2/10 of a second to Oyt Tanak. One of the closest finishes in the entire history, actually, of the WRC. Incredible stuff, and not the first time it's happened as well, with Oyt Tanak losing out in 2019 to if I remember correctly, it was power steering failure.
Wow, that's absolutely insane. I don't think we'll see 2/10 of a second separating some of our drivers here this afternoon, but on the right hand side of your screens, rather, you can see how our creator standings line up. Valembar, who's run his stage a little bit earlier, so won't be on the broadcast today, currently leads the top spot with 53 points. My co-host Isa Musing in P2 there in Kamikaze, of course, taking up the podium spot in P3. Some other great names on there that you will see tonight: Punju, Ambient Mike, Dirk Chocolate, Dark Viper, some of those guys you will be seeing on your screens tonight. And it'll be interesting to see how much that changes by the time you see us next week on the stages. But we can see on board here with Kamikaze in the Toyota Yaris Rally 1. That's going to be a bit of a mouthful to say as he prepares to start his stage.
Yeah, indeed, the nerves on this one are going to be incredibly tough to contain because these cars are just so fast, and one little mistake, in fact, one mistake on deployment of the hybrid can mean a really bad start to your rally. The hybrid works differently, as we can see in this Kamikaze getting underway. The hybrid works differently to Formula 1. You don't get to choose when it deploys, it just works based on your braking, and once the bar, as I think you can see it, the hybrid lights up green at some point, and then you can deploy the hybrid, but you get no choice whether it deploys or not. You just have to deal with it, essentially. You can see there on Punju's view there, the boost bar is green. That means it's deploying, and they get 10 seconds of boost at the start of the rally, as long as they don't lift off the throttle or brake. And as you can see, in Italy, there's barely any full throttle.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Just the drives the guys are already sending through the first few corners. Kamikaze taking slightly different lines to the ones you're seeing from Punju. I think maybe the esports experience coming in for himself as he knows exactly where those track limits are and they aren't. You can see him cutting across the grass quite repeatedly, but of course, importantly, staying within those don't cut markers, which ensures they don't get those cut penalties.
Indeed, and it's very important to get the difficult sort of corner cutting going on. I'm getting some audio issues. Excuse me a second.
Absolutely no trouble. We'll continue to go through, of course, Punju on your left-hand side. He also using the rest of the dirt and the gravel to his complete advantage, taking out one of the do not cut markers just ever so slightly, but of course getting away penalty free here. Kamikaze, on the other hand, is back on the tarmac. Punju's gone around though, spin number 1 for himself, and he finds himself back on the tarmac as well, just shifting up through the gears. I think he's got to take a minute, reset himself just ever so slightly, and make sure he is mentally prepared to go again. You can see himself just calming down a little bit. An early spin doesn't necessarily spell disaster here in Rally Sardinia, but of course, with the times so close, and of course competing against the worldwide leaderboard, which you can join on RaceNet. Just search for EA Creator Series. We are one of the partnered clubs on there, and you can come put in your best times against some of our creators on this board. 2 new faces have joined the screen. There we go. Dirk Chocolate being one of them, choosing the Hyundai i20 for his run this afternoon, as is Adam Sanderson on the right-hand side. And you will notice a slightly special livery that he's running, throwback to his Donna Motorsport. I've forgotten what the team name was in Formula 1. Connor Motorsport, there we go. I had the vowel wrong.
Indeed, yeah. The driver transitioning across the WRC this time got nobody to race on the circuit, so we should see a bit less of the drama as we saw in the Formula 1. But going back to the corner cutting markers there, it's very, very difficult sometimes to spot some of the apexes. So my point was going to be, before I had those audio issues, that sometimes you can use those corner cutting markers to see where the apex of the corner is. They can actually be very, very useful in the long run.
Yeah, of course, they can use them to try and point out amongst the dirt and the grass exactly where those turn-in points are. Of course, Adam Sanderson here choosing the Formula Rim to continue his driving style with, which has worked effectively for some drivers in the past. Dark Viper in the bottom left-hand of your screen, just making sure he's set up and prepped before they start their runs. But Punju and Kamikaze on full send mode through these Italian hills. Punju ever so slightly finding the rocks on the right-hand side. Kamikaze experiencing, or just teasing with the track as he continues to go left, right and centre, but throwing that car across every single surface imaginable.
Yes, indeed, and there's multiple surfaces here, including grass apparently, but you have some very rocky surfaces at some point and very bumpy, and then some fine sandy type surfaces that you'll see and that you saw at the start of this stage. Bassa Kutena, really one of those stages where it accumulates all types of surface, and as you can see going into the hills now for both of these drivers, you've got some very, very difficult cuts over the crest, and in real life where you can pull a tyre off the rim, for example, which happened multiple times, and hopefully none of our drivers do that today.
Yeah, of course, it's really important making sure you look after the car. I'm going to take a educated guess here that some of the jumps, some of the bumps, and some of the riding over the extreme natures of this course, of course, might you take a bit of hampering on the suspension as they run through it. I'm sure that must do a little. It won't do it too good. That's probably the best way of putting it.
Most definitely on the dampers especially, you've got to really take care of the car. Although modern cars have much better suspension, as Punju having the first mistake of the day. Possibly not the last, I will say, because this rally is so tricky, but in terms of accidents, that's not too bad overall. Now we can see our first time on the leaderboard here. Mr. Kamikaze in 3rd place at the moment, 5 seconds off. Important to note that Vlembar, one of our regulars, has already set his times, and I can tell you they are absolutely electric on the leaderboard, essentially going P1 and I think nearly every single stage, and so setting down an absolutely incredible benchmark for our drivers today.
Yeah, real challenge laid down by our current leader of the Drivers' Championship. We're watching the replay here of Kamikaze's first stage. I don't think there was ever a point where that car was facing the correct way as he ran through the initial twists and turns. You can see the U-bends coming thick and fast for himself, making sure that car is pretty much sideways through every single one of them. Of course, the cars quite handily are able to adapt and deal with those sideways actions. Punji there gets himself to 113th on the leaderboard, about 36 seconds off the lead pace. So I think he'll be happy with that overall. Of course, he knows he's here to battle the creators, our Season 1 champion. He'll be looking to improve, though, as we continue through the next couple of stages.
Indeed, indeed, and obviously it's very important to get off to a very good rhythm, as is always the case in rallying. But this one is incredibly tricky because if essentially every single corner is different. Some rallies you can get a very nice rhythm and flow into it, like Finland, Estonia, mainly the more open rallies. But even some like Greece and all that, as we can see, Dark Viper overshooting the corner, getting a 30-second penalty. That is not the start he wanted. Very, very tricky to spot the braking zones in there, especially on tarmac, as you can just lock the brakes, and I think that's what happened. Lock the brakes, go wide, and choose to just go straight on, effectively, to preserve the car. However, not getting it stopped before the reset penalty, as B-Roy just starting the stage, and also going wide, and spinning off on the first corner. That is an
Yeah,
incredibly difficult braking zone down into there, because you're having to go on the brakes. You've still got the hybrid deploying, so the rear end of the car steps out, and then you go straight on the brakes. And if your brake balance is too far to the rear, which I suppose it was for that input, then off you spin onto the grass.
yeah, of course. It's a bit of a double-edged sword, really. You're heading downhill. That hybrid system is firing at its absolute maximum capacity. You step on the brakes, and they almost don't feel to respond. And before you know it, you're going across the dust and the dark and the gravel, and finding your way slightly off course, more so than you would want to be at this stage in the rally. Himself and Dark Viper, I believe, starting at similar times on this first stage, and Dark Viper nearing the completion of his first stage already. And yeah, those who assessing for a very similar time. B-Roy, of course, on the more traditional circular wheel Viper, still hanging on with that Formula wheel, but somehow still throwing that car into every single twist and turn. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen, this is the important one. On the right-hand side of your screens is the amazing Quentin. He's chosen the Toyota Yaris for this afternoon, and he makes his first appearance here in the Creator Series, of course, well known in WRC eSports. The man is a bit of a legend, and I think his reputation definitely preceded him amongst the creators this afternoon.
Yes, indeed, Constanza Olmo, one of the most recognized drivers on this series of games, the 2021 RX champion in esports on this game. So he has a lot of experience, also a very confirmed rally driver indeed, and also does some autocross racing in real life, where he's at least won, I think, one event of the French championship so far, which is absolutely incredible performance. So backing up the virtual driving by some real life shenanigans, and doing well, if I must say so myself.
Yeah, definitely. I feel he's going to lay down a gauntlet for some of our creators here this afternoon. They'll all be out to try and beat him. I can't see it happening unless he makes a mistake. And speaking of mistakes, Dark Viper narrowly avoiding a very quick trip off the cliff there. Just manages to get those tyres to grip and hold on. And he continues through the hills on the right-hand side. B-Roy making his way through a similar part of the stage, just ever so slightly further back. And let's see if he can hang on. Quentin, I believe that's how you pronounce his name. Please correct me if I'm wrong on this. I'm not great with names. Continues, I believe, starts his first stage ambient mic on the right-hand side, not far off the start of the first, just on that first bit of tarmac as well. All four of these so far making good progress, wouldn't you say, Isa?
Indeed, it's interesting to see how they are somewhat falling foul to the dangers of this rally at the start, which is overdriving the car. With that sandy surface, especially this at the start with the half rallycross section, I'm going to call it, spectator zone, if you will. The sandy surface means that if you start sliding on it, you think you've got a lot of grip, and then all of a sudden the car just keeps going sideways, and you think, well, it'll pick up eventually. I'll get forward traction, and it never happens. So
Yeah,
one of the main importances of this rally is keeping it actually clean, consistent, the car moving forward.
yeah, of course. We've spoken about this on weeks gone by as well. It's sometimes not necessarily about setting the quickest time in an individual stage, but just making sure the car actually makes it to the end of the rally. And I think Dark Viper, he has just come across the line. He's parking up by the marshal. B-Roy on two wheels, just saving it, but not quite enough. It's 10 seconds for the Florida man, about 2/3 of the way through this stage. He's still laser focused as he goes through the hills, though. I'm very impressed he didn't roll the car there. It's very easy to overcorrect and get that car to flip.
Well, honestly, the recovery was impressive, to be honest. Lightning reaction skills and just onto the two wheels. Just a shame that, off the roads, though, it seems at this point. So I have, once again, jinxed somebody. So at least I'm consistent in that respect. But yeah, Definitely the driving, very difficult to get used to. Obviously, he's been playing the Formula One games for the last couple of days, and most definitely, sliding and keeping the throttle absolutely pins during the corners when you're sliding is a difficult sort of habit to get into. I just wanted to comment on Dark Viper in 303rd place, if I am correct. So the penalty costing him a bit of time, but in terms of leaderboards, it's okay for the moment.
Yeah, so far so good for Viper. You mentioned, of course, a lot of our creators will have been on the F1 game ever so briefly. New handling model in that as well. So it's been a bit of a double-edged sword even for them as well. Not only have they got to get used to that, but then get back into these rally cars, try and throw it in to what is quite a technical stage with the with different compounds underneath the tires. They've got the sand, as you said, the dust, the gravel, and of course the tarmac. So it is a real interchanging sort of course, but they are continuing through, powering on, and of course that's what we love to see.
Yeah, talking about power, 514 brake horsepower according to this game. That is with the battery deployment. Without the battery, they have about 380 brake horsepower, and you can say that is quite enough for Punju, as he just managed to avoid having a major accident there. But this is the very, very long stage, Monte Olia, and it's 31 kilometers, almost 32 kilometers of pure, what could I call it? Nervousness in terms of driving.
Yeah, I think I spoke to a couple of our creators before we went live this afternoon, and I think most of them were saying they can't wait for this stage to get out the way, get back to those shorter stages. Of course, there's almost no room for error here. It's so quick and so fast. You can see Quentin on the right-hand side, I think just finishing up stage number 1. He's flying through every single corner, a little bit off the cliff, just about to save the car. Yes, he does. Gets that Yaris firmly planted back on the sand and the gravel. And through the hills, he continues to go on the left-hand side, rather. Ambient Mike has completed his stages, I believe, in the first stage, P14 for himself. Obviously, looking up near the top, seeing Kamikaze, seeing Vlembar as well, and he knows that he's got a bit of time to make up in the latter stages.
Yeah, it's a 6-second penalty that I failed to notice there in the stage as Mr. Kamikaze is off briefly taking a trip over a couple of rocks, but nothing too bad happened just then. Yes, I think Ambient Mike will be very disappointed in that first stage result. However, I will say something. The people in the Hyundai are at a slight disadvantage, I would say, because looking at the leaderboards right now, the top 6 of people that have completed the stages already are in the Toyota, and very few people in the top 10 have taken the Ford and the Hyundai. So it might be that just the pointiness of the Toyota may be a bit of an advantage there. Contan completes 2 seconds faster than Ambient Mike. I'm sure he'll be disappointed with that. Most of these drivers at the top want to go for first place and nothing else.
Exactly that. Aim for the top, and even if you miss, you will land among the stars. Kind of sub-quoting one of those famous quotes. Aiming for the moon, of course. But really interestingly, you mentioned about the car. You can see Dirk Chocolate really wrestling with that I-20 as he crests the hill. I think just holding on to the course. It's left, right, and centre, almost rolling the car there as well. But he's held on into the tight left. He goes, and yeah, just manages to regain control of the car. But just going back to something you mentioned just a brief moment ago, you mentioned the cars maybe giving them a bit of an advantage or a disadvantage. I'd like to point out as well, though, you completed last week's rally in the BMW, which a lot of our creators really started to struggle with, not only completing the stage for yourself, but topping the timing sheet.
Yes, I will say the BMW's tyre wear was horrendous, is the word for it. The first stages were fine. The latter stages, especially in the rain, you just had a constant wheel spin, which is something they'll be dealing with a lot in these cars with the hybrid deployments, which only deploys to the rear wheels. So it's not a four-wheel drive battery deployment, and it can change the balance of the car a lot and make it handle a lot more like the BMW M1 and Group B rear-wheel drive cars did last week. So I'm not sure. Some drivers will be able to cope with it a lot, quite well. Maybe the Formula One drivers will be able to cope with it, but the rally drivers, sometimes it can unsettle them because they're not used to inconsistent battery deployment.
Yeah, of course, consistency is key, especially when you're stretching through stages such as this. You can see on Kamikaze's screen the tight fence on the right-hand side, the shrubbery on his left. And with that battery deployment unsettling the car, sometimes an element of unpredictability starts to sneak in for some of our drivers here. Punju just making its way down the hill again, just making sure the car stays on the beaten track. Kind of the term of phrase I'll end up using for it, but navigating it rather well. The two of them in rather different parts of the stage, probably a couple of kilometers separating the two of them. Kamikaze, though, full focus through the dirt and the sand.
Yes, indeed. This stage just is everything combined, as you could say. You could have all of the road surface changes, junctions onto main roads, and especially some of these corners go from very tight sections onto flat out sections. It can be very difficult to judge the speed of the car. Obviously, one of the people that will be able to adapt to that a lot well is Content Alolmo. Because he participated not only in the Dirt World Series or eSports later on, but he also competed in iRacing in the off-road buggies and rallycross category, where maintaining the grip levels on surface changes and the weight transfer of the car, which are obviously very important on these low-speed rallies, as B-Roy absolutely on the limit and over the limit, sadly. It looked like he'd recovered that one, but unfortunately just slid off the road and then got beached and hit a tree subsequently. I don't think too much damage done, but a knock to the confidence, and that's only in the second sector, so he's got a long stage in front of him, hopefully to regain confidence, but can be a long stage if you can't regain that confidence.
Yeah, it can be a long and taxing section, of course, as you said, about 31 or 32 kilometers as they head through Dark Viper, just making his way through around checkpoint kind of 3, making his way through nice and tightly, consistently, of course, making sure that car gets its way to the end with as minimal damage as possible, and then knowing they can go full sprint in the shorter stages that are still to come in this rally. B-Roy, it looks like he's bouncing all over the place from that camera placement. I think that's just his wheel shaking the rig, but it does rather simulate what our drivers will be feeling. Kamikaze still throwing that Toyota Yaris into every single corner, every corner. He's almost taken sideways at this point. Punju in the top left of your screens, making his way through a little more cautiously than Kamikaze has, but nonetheless, in his own right, making sure that car goes full send as much as he is willing to do so to minimize the damage on the car, making his way just crossing the halfway stage or near abouts, as is Kamikaze. These two kind of equal in the progression through the stage. I think Kamikaze's a checkpoint ahead or so, if I'm trying to cross compare there. But Quentin, I'm going to call him Quentin. If I'm wrong, I apologize, chat. But we'll continue through, cresting the hill for himself, as is Ambient Mike. Very similar parts of the stage, I believe.
Yeah, I've been looking at the 4-car camera here that we have. I've noticed something interesting in that both Hyundai point of view seem to be bouncing a lot more than the Toyotas. I'm not sure if that's something to do with the different car setups, but it seems like the Hyundais are really struggling. As you can see, Ambient Mike nearly losing the car there completely, and Punju seems to just be bouncing all the time, even on the flat. And whereas the Toyotas seem to be keeping quite consistent and stable. I'm not sure if maybe there's been some damage or something, but yeah, it seems to be that the Hyundai is quite wild at the moment.
Yeah, interesting. I don't think we've seen anyone take the Ford Puma at the moment, if I stand correctly. Because there are 3 cars in this class and category. Of course, the Hyundai i20 and the Toyota Yaris that you're seeing are creators drive this afternoon. But there is an additional one that no one is running this afternoon. It is, of course, the Ford Puma. And no one's running it, interestingly enough. Maybe that's just through knowledge and experience, or maybe just feeling what they might be a little bit more familiar with due to previous seasons or previous rounds that we have seen here. I think last season we did run these WRC cars at one point, so maybe just a little bit of familiarity with their chosen choice of car.
Well, there was a performance update a few weeks, if not a few months ago now, to not fix but adjust the performance of the Rally 1 cars to make them closer. And I think that might have something to do with it, in that before the update, the Toyota was by far the fastest, the Hyundai second fastest, but very understeery, and the Ford has the least pace but was the most stable. However, in most reviews and forum posts and all of that, you will still be able to read, as per the previous performance metrics of the cars, that the Ford is, aka quote-unquote, the worst, according to the old data. And so a lot of people that are trying to choose their car will go and look at those posts and think, oh, well, I'm not going to take the Ford, even though it's been updated. And having driven it, it's by far the most stable car of the three, and actually very, very drivable to within a couple of seconds, I think, of the Toyota. But maybe that old stigma playing against the Ford in this one.
I think you might be right on that. Of course, forum posts in the community do quite often influence what our creators do choose in the end. Ambient Mike, one of our, let's say, more professional drivers, he's often there to help out our creators, give them advice as to what sort of car they'd be choosing, the setup in which they want to sort of be running. And we say that as he just finds himself off the track ever so slightly, hitting a bit of a bump in the road, metaphorically and physically as well, but continuing nonetheless. I think he's got a bit of front damage on that car. You can see the bonnet raising and lowering as he makes his way down the hill, almost full throttle for the majority of it. There's no rest for the wicked in that Hyundai i20. Everybody else just making their way through nice and calmly. Punju on one of the tarmac sections once again. That looks around 2/3 of the way through this longer stage. Everybody, of course, will still have to experience that. I think Quentin just a little bit behind some of our creators. They do move off in staggered stages, so we don't expect them all to start and finish at the same time. Gives us a little bit of breathing room between runs, or at least something to always talk about. But Kamikaze, he's reaching that 2/3 stage at the moment, back in the hills, now running up the hill. And this is a little bit of a different game than they played earlier. The downforces, the effects on the car will be different, and they have to drive it in that different way.
Yes, indeed. The Rally 1 regulations revamped the aerodynamics compared to the WRC Plus cars that we had before. The central, apart from the central differential going from the car, they have less underfloor downforce. The diffuser has been reduced at the back. The rear wing has been reduced a tiny, tiny bit. And the front downforce reduced as well, with the effectively winglets disappearing on the side or the front of the car. So a lot less a tiny bit less aerodynamics, let's call it, because these cars still have by far the most aerodynamics. As Kamikaze going off the roads there, just a tiny bit, but managing to recover, very, very well controlled. They can be a bit more unstable and unpredictable, especially at low speeds, because of that central differential being absent. One thing I just wanted to note is that Contan Dalomo was missing the whole front bodywork on his car, so I think he's had a huge off at some point that we have not seen on camera here. And Ambient Mike's problem seemed to be the car bouncing twice. We saw on that footage. He just had a bounce before corner, couldn't get the car stopped, and then went off the road on the outside. It'll be interesting to see whether they make any setup changes, or whether that's just something that they're having to deal with in terms of damage. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, interesting to note. I think Adam Sanderson there he's running time trial by the looks of things, so hasn't even started the stages yet. Maybe just trying to get some confidence in. Not quite sure of what time his split was originally meant to start. I believe it was meant to start probably about 10-15 minutes ago. So if someone could go tell Adam that he's allowed to start, that'd be much appreciated. He was meant to start at 42 minutes past 7 here in the UK, which was about 20 minutes ago. So continuing on the time trial leaderboard, I must say that car design is absolutely beautiful. Whoever's made that, or if he made that himself, fair play to Adam. But everyone else making their way through the stages as normal. They've managed to start at least. Punju still wrestling with that car. You can see the wheel in his hands, moving all over the shop, just trying to get some grip on the dirt and the gravel and the sand as they make their way through the hills. He's really struggling a little bit.
Yeah, they're both struggling. The Kamikaze just having another little off there. It's really, really tricky once you have and Punju hitting a rock as well. That rock unseen. I just noticed it at the last second possible. Just hiding in the grass there, just enough to catch the front splitter and rotate the car. At these low speeds, it's so easy to just get either the wheel or the front of the car stuck on the rocks and rotate it off the road, or indeed stuck. Sometimes you just have to call for a spectator assistance, a bit like in real life. Thierry Neuville got stuck on the rocks on Saturday in the real Rally Sardinia, so it happens even to the best.
Yeah, of course, even our pro drivers really do struggle sometimes, not only in esports, but in real life as well. Dark Viper, about halfway through the long stage, similar to what Quentin is as well. Finding himself off the track, though. Not quite sure what went wrong for him, but like you said, there's definitely damage on that Yaris, missing at least a bonnet, if not a considerable amount more of bodywork. Punju nearing the end of the stage. And Kamikaze still making his way through the stage as well. Everybody else just finding their way through nice and tightly. Punju throwing that car left, right and centre. You can still, I believe, see him in the top left-hand side of your screen, continuing down the hill for himself. Quentin riding every single edge and curb that he possibly can, trying to gain some time back that he lost in that previous instant. Dark Viper in the bottom right, I believe, coming up about halfway stage of this treacherous and long stage for himself. What's going through Viper's mind at the moment as he kind of reaches that halfway stage, are you thinking, User?
Well, most of the time, once you reach the halfway point, you're just looking at those sectors, which can be very distracting as a driver. Just thinking, oh, I've only got 6 sectors to go, 5 sectors. You're counting it down. You're just praying that every single corner goes well. And as you get to the end of the stage, you start pushing more, thinking, I'm nearly at the end there, and that's when the mistakes can happen. Generally, by mid-stage, you've settled into a rhythm, or if it's going really, really badly, you're just praying that the car holds on at that point. But the halfway point can be very, very difficult as a driver, because sometimes you think you're approaching the end of the stage and then you look across to your left at the marker and think, oh, I've got exactly the same distance left.
Yeah, we're being told as well, Adam Sanderson totaled his car on stage 1. That's why he was running time trial previously, just maybe getting in some last-minute practice for the longer stages come, of course. In the update, I believe, that came just a few weeks ago, you can now recover your car. I believe it's to the next day, so you miss out potentially 1 or 2 stages. So he has a little bit of time to kill before he gets going once again. But an unfortunate exit for the first stage, which wasn't very long, only about 4.5, 5 minutes for some of our creators. So maybe a massive mistake for Adam Sanderson on the initial run in Rally Sardinia.
Indeed, it must have had been a huge accident to completely DNF the car. Unlike in Greece and other locations, that I don't think there's any automatic DNFs if you go off the road. So that will have been a collision with a tree or a rock. It can happen. These cars are some of the fastest, if not the fastest, in the game in terms of stage time. So if you're going to hit anything, it will cause significant, if not rally-ending damage. Right away as soon as you hit something. So you can see some of our drivers are missing bodywork, or the car's looking a bit second-hand, and sometimes that's even just small mistakes happening, and it can cost you a huge amount of time and a huge amount of dignity sometimes, as I know too well.
You're absolutely right. I've DNF'd far too many stages on these games to be able to call myself anywhere near competitive, as we see Kamikaze coming across the line about 19 minutes to his time, which is very respectable. And he pauses before he reaches the marshals, which isn't very helpful, as we would like to see his time, which is very much appreciated. Punju not far off that finish line either. But I was going back to your earlier comment where you said some of the drivers just want to make it till the end. I want to take a quote from the famous Michael Schumacher, of course, where he says, "First you must finish," and that is surely the ethos that is going through some of our F1 drivers here. Kamikaze on the leaderboard, just outside the top 10, just trying to check where he is. There he is, P13 for himself. Unlucky for some, but we wait and see what he manages to pull through in the next couple of stages.
1 minute down, though. A lot of mistakes. And Punchu on his roof straight away, just clipping the bank on the inside. Very easy to do. And with the 4-wheel drive especially, the wheels continue to have power, and so they'll just claw their way up the bank and flip you over. Even worse, basically. Very, very easy thing to do. Even if you just clip it by a couple of millimeters, it can do that. And obviously, with the camber of the road, flipping him over. But not too bad, back on his wheels. Some radiators damaged though, so the car a bit second-hand. He'll want to get that to a service as soon as possible. Just demonstrating how tricky it is to negotiate this rally. Even at the end of the stage, he was only a sector away from the end. Just as I was saying, you start pushing at the end of the stage, and I think he's demonstrated that, unfortunately for us. And yeah, it can cost you.
Yeah, good recovery from Punju in the end. I'm just going to bring in Kamikaze very quickly, see if we can have a quick chat with him about how his stage went. He's got a considerable amount of damage that he's got to repair here. So I wonder if we can bring him in for a quick chat. Kamikaze, first of all, welcome to the comms box. Welcome to Rally Sardinia. How have the first couple of stages gone for yourself?
It's good for me and hard for the car.
Yeah,
Are you having problems possibly with ride height, maybe? I saw multiple times that you were not bouncing off the road, but getting stuck on some rocks on the side of the road. Is that a difficulty for you at the moment?
Ride height. I have maximum height, so I can't get it in. But yeah, my car is a little bit soft. We can try to adjust. I take some expert advice, so yeah.
How much does adjusting the setup affect you? Are you one of these people that like adjusting the setup, or once you've started the rally, do you think maybe like Sebastian Loeb, I'll just keep the setup, adjust the driving style?
Now it's just my driving style, and I don't like to adjust my setups mid-rally. But I felt I had good grip. But this type of rally, my knowledge, track knowledge or stage knowledge is not the best.
Amazing. Well, it was such a long stage for that previous one. Of course, I think, as Isa was saying, about 31, 32 kilometers. You made it to the end. It's shorter stages pretty much till the end of the rally now. How are you hoping for your chances? I think you're about a minute down from what I last saw.
It's minute and 7 seconds to Lambar, I think. But yeah, it's so long. It's too long to reach the finish.
Exactly that. And yeah, is there anything further? Sorry.
Well, I mean, a minute gap, but the first stage went okay, so the pace is there. Do you think you can maybe attack and get some of that pace back?
Maybe.
Can't wait to find out then.
Best of luck to you, Kamikaze, and I'm sure we'll chat to you a little bit later.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh, I dragged him into one as someone else did, but nonetheless, always fantastic to speak to Kamikaze. Always driving very collectedly through the stages, even if he is, as we've said, about a minute 7 seconds down. He always has the attitude that I can make it up. I will get to the end.
I sensed a bit of disappointment in his voice. I know him a bit too well. He wants to be at that first place, and I know that minute lost to any competitive driver is going to be a slap in the face, just in terms of confidence. And so he'll be looking to push flat out on the next stage, good to get good stage time, less damage on the car, and hopefully it goes well for him. A driver who seems to be going well is Contant Del Olmo, absolutely pushing flat out on this stage.
He is indeed sending it through every corner, narrowly avoiding the trees on the left-hand side. We've had one interview. Let's pull Punju in for a quick chat as well. I think he's just completed the stage. Punju, welcome in, and welcome to Rally Sardinia for yourself. How have you found it?
You know, it's been a lot of fun, except for that last stage was a little bit rough. I had a couple little moments. I was starting to cook at the very end, and then I had that silly rollover. I think without that, I probably would have been able to, be top 60. But, outside of that, I think it's been pretty fun. It's been really good so far.
It certainly looks enjoyable from our point of view. I think everyone's making, if not miniature mistakes, quite big mistakes. There's little taps with the rocks, maybe an occasional trip into the grassland area. But the long stage is at least done now for yourself.
Yeah, thank gosh. I mean, honestly, that long stage is something else. The start part is really sketchy when you're going up on top of the mountain, stuff like that. So I was really just trying to play damage limitation, be really cool, calm, and collected when I went through there. As soon as I got to what was Basso Cutenia, like that second half, basically like the middle third of it, I started to put a little bit more push on it. And the final third of the stage, I'm really good at. So I was pushing pretty hard. So I just kind of ramped through it. And that's kind of how I think I'm going to take the rest of this event as well. Just kind of ramp into it, and the final couple stages really put the pressure on.
Well, unfortunately, we did see you ramp up the bank and onto your roof, but I noticed the car was bouncing quite a bit. And is that something you've noticed, or is that just the camera making it look like that?
I mean, the camera definitely does a little bit of injustice, but the suspension was damaged, so that would probably contribute to a lot of it. I'm looking at it right now. I have light damage on my suspension, so that would do it. I think that's probably the culprit, honestly.
Well, apart from that one incident, it did look as if you were driving really, really well. So I don't want to put any sort of jinx on you. It's going well. I hope it continues just on the consistent path that you're doing right now.
Yeah, I hope so too. Thank you so much for trying your best to not jinx me. I'm sure you probably already did though, but that's all right. That is life.
It's gonna be no comment from the comms box at this moment in
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
but-
yeah. Oh, all right. PR comment right there. That's what that is. Just saving yourself. Oh boy, this is gonna be
Amazing
fun.
stuff. Thank you, Punju, for coming and chatting, and best of luck with the next couple of stages.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. We'll drag Punju back to the waiting room. Well then, Punju seems in a bit of a better mood than Kamikaze was ever so slightly just a couple of minutes ago.
Most definitely. I think Punju was in quite a I wouldn't say distraught mood, but was really struggling last week, and I think this week the cars are suiting him a lot more, and it really shows in the way that he's talking about the cars. He's confident that he can get on top of his issues and start pushing, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah, we just seen him get a 30-second penalty for all the repairs. He just went slightly over his allotted time. But I just want to. This isn't rally related. I just want to talk about his drinks cup. It's almost as big as his head. If you saw briefly the bottom left-hand side of your screen, it's not rally related at all. But I thought I'd bring it up in the stream. On the right-hand side, you see Quentin. I'm trying to see where he is on the leaderboard. You can still see Vlembar there at the top, and it is P9. For the introductory driver this weekend. Obviously, his first ride out in the Create Series. P9, I don't think he'll be happy, but I don't think he'll be disappointed.
Well, with all of that damage on the car, I think he will be happy to just get to the end of the stages, taking a little bit of a look through stages, seeing what he's got to repair, because he's missing the whole front end of that car is gone in terms of bodywork. So there will be considerable damage, and at this point the mechanics have to pick and choose what they repair. So he'll be looking for stuff like night stages or rain, or what type of stage it is. If it's a slower stage, he doesn't have to repair the bodywork because the aerodynamics aren't as important. So there's a lot of factors that come into it, and I'm sure Quentin has all of the knowledge necessary to get that done.
Yeah, indeed. I was going to try and grab Adam for a brief moment there, but he just muted up as I saw him at the last minute. Nonetheless, we'll catch him a little bit later. You can see on your screens, or you did see on your screens, Quentin just doing his repairs on board, though, with both of them at the same time. Here we go, beautifully on both screens. Punju on the left, making his way through stage number, I believe, stage 3, 7.7 kilometers. On the right-hand side, you have all the repairs that are currently being done to that Toyota Yaris.
Yes, Malti quite an open stage compared to some of the things that you would have seen in the previous stage. It's along the bottom of the valley for the most of it, and apart from a few hairpins like we're coming up to here, most of the corners are quite fast and flowing. So it can be a huge change of pace for the drivers. The drivers coming off of the end of the previous stage would have been used to some sandy state. In fact, we are actually going through. Yes, I'm going to correct myself. This is the end section of the previous stage, so they would have already got their sight in for this, and not getting the corner just about correct, but you can take a confidence into the second pass of a stage effectively, and sometimes it can do you as much injustice with fresh tires, repaired car. You carry more speed, and subsequently, actually, you end up getting yourself in more trouble. But he seemed to have recovered that quite well. No, I said nothing.
There's the commentator's curse. Immediately as we said Punju was going well, it is into the tree. A big sigh from the man himself. But I don't think that will let him dishearten too much. He'll continue through the stage, almost reaching halfway already. It's a much quicker stage to the one we saw last time around, probably only about 5 or 6 minutes for most of our drivers to complete. This is Kamikaze, has a massive clip on the rear left as well, sends his car spinning 180 degrees, facing the wrong way on this dirt track, and continues through nonetheless. Will make it till the end, but definitely not how he'd want to end stage number 3 here. Something I did notice though from Quentin's screen as he was looking through all of the stages that are yet to come, I saw rain.
That could be a problem, especially for lights and all that. You do want the extra visibility. However, rain will make the bodywork damage less of a problem. So it's a curse and a gift at the same time. Which way he wants to interpret that, I'll leave it up to him.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, it was looking like the latter stages, potentially stage 6 or stage 7. I wonder if we can get Dirk Chocklin for a quick interview. He's had a bit of damage on his car, just repairing it at the moment. And Dirk, welcome in. How's Rally Sardinia treating you at the moment?
I actually need to start my next one, but I'm depressed. It's very difficult. I'm 2 minutes behind on schedule. So I need to start the next one. But yeah, look at the car, and you'll see exactly what I mean. But it's been a bit tough.
It's been in the wars, so to speak. We won't hold you up too long though. But no, just first couple of stages, you've got through the long one. Shorter stages to come now. We saw some rain predicted for later stages as well. I'm not sure if you've seen that yet, or if you've taken that into your game plan.
No, I haven't got a single rain tire. Oh, I might have a rain tire actually. Might have one set, which will be all right. No rain. We don't have rain tires. Oh, fantastic! This would be good. This would be very good. Do you know what it is?
Well, the rain tires, he's just taken away his last bit of hope there, unfortunately. The rain tires, you will be glad to know that the grooved tires that you have as gravel tires work pretty well in the rain. So rest assured that you will have grip, at least a bit more than if you took slicks on a Formula 1 track.
So, right, if you were me, Isa, would you use the hards now or the mediums now? Leave the mediums till later. What do you mean, don't give me a... I need all the help I can get.
I will point out something here.
Go on.
You're asking the person who jinxes everybody which tires you should take. I will ask you to reconsider your strategy.
No, I'll double down on the question. What would you do if you were me? What tires would you leave till last?
I mean, if it's going to rain, which I don't think it is according to what I can see on your screen there, the next two stages appear to be dry. I would definitely go for the hard tires and save the soft tires for the rainy weather. You will get a lot more grip with those tires.
I'm going to go do exactly that. I'm going to go change tires right now. Thank you for pulling me into this, because now we're saving ourselves a world of pain. That's brilliant.
Lovely stuff. Well, we'll let you get on with your stages, Dirk, and we don't want you to get too far behind. And best of luck for the remaining dry stages.
Thank you very much. If you see me crying later on, you'll know why.
Well, it might be rain, it might be tears, who knows? But thank you, Dirk, and we'll see you a little bit later on.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you. And on the right-hand side of your screen is now full screen for yourselves. We have the one, the only Adam Sanderson coming back from his time trial adventures, back on, I believe, the normal stages now after that earlier DNF in stage 1. Just making his way through right at the end. I'm going to assume this is stage 3. I'm just thinking he has caught up with everybody else, and he's navigating this fairly successfully.
Yeah, the lines look a lot better compared to us driving a couple of weeks ago, just emphasizing how much experience you need in rally. He's being quite a bit more sort of on the optimal racing lines that you should be using, and I'm very happy to see that the pace is and confidence is finally coming to him. Obviously, an unfortunate mistake. It happens when you're starting to push the limits and push a bit harder, but you can learn a lot from that, and I think he'll take a lot of positive notes from a particularly tough start to one of the toughest rallies. That's for sure.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Adam Sanderson's one of those drivers that will always come back from slight adversity, not necessarily just in Formula 1, but of course in rally as well. You find himself, I believe, down in the mid-hundreds over that stage. So, of course, realistically, he's not had much practice. I believe he hopped on quite freshly this afternoon, didn't do much practice, and it really started to show in stage number 1 for himself. On board with Ambi and Mike, running through stage number 4, I believe himself, that Hyundai, just responding to every single twist and turn, the input that he wants to give it.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some stage times as well. Punju just completed the last stage, 36 seconds off, but with a 30-second penalty from what I could see. So his speed through that stage, after all of that sort of inconsistency at the start, he's managed to find some legitimate pace through there, and that is an impressive stage time from him. Unfortunate with the penalty, but it bodes well for the next couple of stages. And may I say, Ambient Mike is making this look easy.
He is indeed. Punju definitely will have a boost of confidence heading into the next couple of stages, along with that boost to the car from the electrical power, but ambient mic really showing us how it's done here at the moment, sending it over all the twists, turns, bends and jumps that Rally Sardinia has to offer in these middle stages for our drivers. There's definitely confidence behind that steering wheel at the moment.
Most definitely, and you can see that confidence with the car not moving too much. He's not overstepping the car. If you in rally, if you get above the 45-degree angle in terms of slip angle, you're losing a lot of time. And here he's keeping it between 20, 30 degrees maximum in terms of sliding, and he's just keeping the car and the power going forwards. That's exactly what he wants to do on this type of sandy surface. And this is probably going to be a very, very fast stage if he can keep it on the line until the very end.
Yeah, so it's an elegant form of controlled chaos on the right-hand side. Quentin just showing his replay, I'm going to assume, of stage number 3. That's sort of around the times we're on at the moment, but ambient mic surely can't be far off finishing this stage at the moment. Another short stage compared to the one we had earlier. Of course, they all will be not far off the 4, 5, 6 minute mark if my maths are correct here, which I believe it is every single one kind of around, well, some up to the 10s, but that's potentially not necessarily for the esports drivers.
Yeah, so what do you mean won this stage, which is a very unfortunate name for commentary because it makes every sentence confusing, but he's a very, very quick driver from Hong Kong, if I remember correctly. Vlembar was second, 2 seconds off on this stage, maybe a little mistake in there. Contan Del Olmo, who we can see his replay right there, was only 5 seconds off. In fact, a bit less than 5 seconds off. So a very, very good stage with a presumably still slightly damaged car. As we can see ambient mic completing the stage, and that looks like a very solid stage time as well. I'm going to see if I can get his time straight away. Oh, well, there we go. It's on the screen right now. 5th place, 5 seconds back as well. There you go. You can see the leaderboard there of the top 10. Incredible, incredible times. And just everybody pushing flat out on that stage. It is one of the stages where time trials are usually held because it's one of the fastest stages. And but that sandy surface, very much specific to that one. As we can see, Dirk getting caught out on that closing section of stage 3. Really, really, this is where it transitions from the really fast section to the slow end of the stage, and he got caught out there just clipping a tree, but looking okay so far. Just keeping, again, a lot more controlled. He said it last week, it was a lot more under control, and this week he's confirming that he's just managed to find that groove and just staying in that sort of consistent driving style.
Yeah, of course. Speaking of Rally Sardinia, it'd be almost abhorrent not to mention the 2008 season with the as I say, that was Dirk Chocolate goes to roll just before the finish line. That was rather unfortunate for himself, but I'm just going back very, very quickly. 2008 season when they ran the last stage at Lista Ruha. I'm probably pronouncing that completely wrong again. It was held near the 5-star hotel Cala de Volpe, which is quite famously known as James Bond's favourite resort. Little bit of
Yes,
insight for you.
The knowledge between the rally scene and the filming industry. Love to see it. Not many films made about rally, but maybe some more in the future. We have ambient mic here for, I think, a little bit of an interview. How's it going? That stage looked quite good from our perspective. How did you find it?
This stage went fantastic for me. Nice and clean. Cars looking all right. Unfortunately, the last long stage, I made an absolute example of myself. The hard tires, I didn't really have much experience on. I did a bit of practice on the mediums. And the I-20, which has a bit of a tail-happy rear, is just even harder on the hard tires. So unfortunately, had a bit of a puncture and a few spins in there.
So I noticed and I've already asked other drivers this question, but I wanted to ask a sort of more competitive driver towards the top end of the leaderboards the same question. I've noticed that the Hyundai seems to be bouncing a lot more than the Toyota. Is that something you've noticed, and is that affecting your driving in any way?
Yeah, oddly enough, the I-20 seems to have a pretty decent suspension. Actually, the first stage, I bottomed out on a rock that I was not expecting at all. So it was a very, very odd accident. So yeah, the I-20 seems to have some underbody physics that are almost more similar to the builder car, which also has some very interesting characteristics.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
quite low to the ground then, and susceptible to get hooked up on places, sides of the road, stuff like that. So maybe the Toyota just gliding over it a bit more. Does that mean you have to change your driving lines and the way you approach the corners?
Yeah, I mean, especially on these hard tires, because that rear end is so unpredictable and the grip is a little bit all over the place. I'm definitely having to be a lot more tentative into the apex and really just try to keep it slow into it.
Amazing
Fascinating
stuff. And
stuff.
we heard you talk about the hard tyre as well. Is that slight strategy heading into the later stages? We spoke to Dirk just a few moments ago. Of course, the rain coming rather imminently in the final couple of stages. What's the game plan for that at the moment?
Yeah, the strategy seems to be pretty straightforward for the most part. With the long early stint where we went with the hard tires, switched over at the first service, and then we'll be taking these tires for the next 4 stages, and then onto the mediums once the weather starts getting a little bit worse.
How do you rate your confidence or your how do you predict you'll do when that rain does come down here in Italy?
In the at this point, I'm used to a tail happy car, so the rain I'm honestly looking forward to. I have a setup ready to go for those stages, so the car's feeling great. The driver confidence might be the part we need to work on.
Amazing stuff. Well, we won't hold you up for too much longer. We'll let you continue with your bombardment of the Italian hills here, but we wish you the best of luck for the next
Thank
couple
you
of
very much,
stages.
gents.
Thank you very much. Oh, fantastic stuff to chat to Mike there. Quentin on the right hand side of your screen is really struggling with the car. Into the side of the wall he goes, the side of the cliff becoming his worst nightmare, and he sends the car into a 360 spin, somehow just holding it together in the beautiful Toyota Yaris. Some of the drivers, like you said, complaining that the i20 is rather tail happy considering compared to the Yaris here, which is quite pointy and quite susceptible to be able to get the car turned in as necessary.
Well, from having driven the cars, as we see Contant really struggling with the car right now, he's had a huge moment before that crash, I just want to say, because he's missing the front bodywork again. Maybe he didn't repair that, I'm not quite sure. But he's got radiator damage as well, so he'll be missing a bit of power, which is ever so crucial when the stages are going uphill and across, multiple mountain ranges. You really want all of that power you can possibly have. From as Dirk Chocolate's off the road as well. It's just one of those stages, and he's trying to find a way back on. I don't know. Does he know where it is? Where is the stage? It's
I think he's on it.
somewhere along there. There it is. I caught a brief glimpse of it. There we go. We're back on the road. Lovely stuff. That is some classic Dakar rallying, not Italy Rally Sardinia, but we will take it. One of the
Yeah.
things I was going to say is having driven the cars, the Toyota is very snap oversteery, whereas the Hyundai is quite progressive, if you can call it that way, oversteery. So the driving style matters a lot compared to if you can um, drive the Toyota better or the Hyundai better. But as we can see, both cars are very prone to mistakes just through the speed of the cars. And not a lot of drivers using their lights in this stage. It might be beneficial to turn on those headlights to get a brief glimpse of what's in front of you. But it's looking pretty dark on their screens. Ominous signs of rain in the future. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we can see Dirk Chocolate flicking his windscreen wipers on there, probably trying to look for the lights button. I wonder how many of them actually have functioning headlights at this point in time. Top right hand side, it seems Quentin has got those headlights on as the darkness does creep its way in here in Italy. I just want to give a massive shout out to Ren in the community. They've posted in the little cool down room in our Discord. If you are watching on our channel's !Discord, will get you into those. They say they've done their first rally today with the load cell pedals, but they didn't have hybrid for the entire rally. Apparently, they weren't pressing hard enough. That's a really unfortunate mistake to make, of course, that hybrid system not kicking in until you're pretty much at full throttle, if I remember correctly.
Yes, well, you can actually set it in the menus, in the tuning menus. If I remember correctly, right next to the setup menu, you can tune 3 settings for it deploy at 30% throttle, at 50% throttle, or at 70% throttle. The default is 70% throttle. Okay, you have to push the throttle very, very hard, almost 100%, to get the battery to deploy. And the 30% will be a very rapid deployment as soon as you get on the throttle. So there are ways to get around that and get the battery deployed. So maybe they should look into that, but it all comes down to driving style, if you're more aggressive or less aggressive on the throttle.
Yeah, exactly that. See Kamikaze on the left-hand side with the darkness creeping in for their stage. Headlights on for themselves. Punju on the right-hand side just getting that car repaired before they start the next stage for themselves. It is slightly darker than when we first started this rally. Of course, it was bright sunshine. We find ourselves definitely creeping just past dusk here in the Italian hills. Of course, before that rain starts to creep its way in. This is where our creators and, of course, our professional drivers as well, I'll call them, start to make ends meet. This is where the rally really starts to matter. Every single mistake will really start to punish you, especially if you end up damaging your lights.
Yeah, but you can see the lack of visibility even with the lights on. You just have to use stage knowledge, and if not, just reaction skills to get the car moving and rotating into the corners as you want to. But one of the most difficult stages, I'd say, to drive at night, because this stage has a lot of rolling hills, especially on the flat stuff at the first half of the stage, I'd say. It can be very, very tricky to spot the apexes, turn-in points. All of the corners look the same here. And just sliding a bit wide on that corner. Lucky to keep it on the gravel, keep the grip going. He looks in control of this one, however, so it might be a good stage for him. I hope so. It's not gone to plan so far for any of our drivers, it must be said.
Yeah, as he makes his way through the stages, again, another short stage for himself. I think we'll be able to pull another driver in for an interview. I wonder if we can get B-Roy in just to have a quick chat about how his rally's been going. B-Roy, welcome into the comments box for round number 3 here of the Create Series, but also welcome to Rally Sardinia.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Hopefully y'all been enjoying the rally so far.
It's been good from the comms perspective. How's it been going down there in the driver's seat?
No. I don't know how many times I'm going to enter this comms box and just say no, but no, it's not been going great. Been battling a lot of handling issues, been battling this car and the boost. I've said it before, but I'm not a fan of boosts in WRC cars, and with this rally being so technically challenging, it's been tough to keep it on the road and tough to figure out when the boost is going to kick in and trying to take these corners. It's really thrown me off, but yeah, and then we had an IRL wheel failure and had to fix that and broke the car more. So I mean, yeah, it's been an interesting rally so far.
Certainly sounds like a rather testing environment, both a car and a driver at the moment. You're obviously in the Yaris, slightly more pointy on the turning compared to the i20, which is quite a bit of a tail kick out. Has that been beneficial, or has that been actually a little bit more hampering than you would have liked?
Probably a little bit more hampering. I mean, I like a car that has, like, at least in a rally car, I like it when it steps out, it's able to drift a little bit more. And with this thing being so, I want to say more balanced, it hasn't been able to be like as turn focused as I wanted it to be. But you know what? I mean, we're just kind of surviving. I kind of like, especially when you're going up against a bunch of these good guys in here, Dirk, Ambient Mike, Punju. You're going to be in for a really, really tough day in the office. And you know what? I'm just trying to survive to the end and have some fun with it. But we gotta have a car that makes it there first. So if my IRL wheel stops breaking, if the actual car in the game stops breaking, and I don't get weird glitches all the time, I think we'll be all right. I think we'll finish the rally okay.
I was going to say, as a closing note, as a bit more positivity, that it looked like when everything was going okay, the racing lines were really good, the speed was good. So perhaps, as you say, if there's no longer all of those issues, maybe you can get one good stage time in at least. I hope.
Yeah,
so anyway.
This previous one was going really good until the wheel I had to do wheel repair on midstream, which thankfully only took a minute. But then at the same time is we had a really weird glitch. I can probably pull it up on the replay here, actually, if I can figure out how do you. Oh yeah, that's right. In order to go fast, I have to turn my wheel left. But we had a really weird glitch that saw me glitch into the mountain and completely flip over and had to take a weird time penalty, which really I think ruined how well this stage was going, at least. Actually, yeah, here I can play it here now. So there it goes. But yeah, hopefully the rest of the rest of the rally doesn't go like this last one did, and I think if it doesn't go like this, then I think we're fine.
Amazing stuff, and yeah, just see you caught up in the hills. Just one quick comment before you go. The rain coming in the last couple of stages, 7 and 8 for yourself.
Huh?
How are you feeling about that?
There's rain?
There is rain.
That's the second driver that we have just made lose all hope right there. I just want to point that out, TJ.
I don't want to say I'm enjoying that, but it's rather fun.
Hey, y'all are gonna enjoy it from being in your nice, cool comms box. I gotta go out here and drive this thing, man. I mean, okay. Well, thanks for letting me know. Now I can go make some repairs and maybe I don't know. I think I'm screwed now. But thanks for that nice little tidbit of information.
You're welcome.
The commentator's job. No worries. It's free.
Yeah. It's all right. You guys are gonna get the commentator curse out anyway, so it's okay.
There's always one victim every week, but B-Roy, as always, such a pleasure to chat to you, and I'm sure we'll speak to you later.
We'll see you guys soon.
See you soon, dude. Oh,
I
well,
can already count 2 victims of commentator's curse, to be honest, already this stream, but
I
I'll
think we should
gloss
have a
over
counter.
that.
We need a counter for how many drivers we've disappointed with rain incoming. At the moment, we're on 2. If I can get a full 8, I'll be very happy.
Just noting Mr. Kamikaze's time at the end there, 20 seconds off, so it looks like it was going well up until a certain point, but he might have made another mistake, which is very, very unfortunate. I've said it many, many times in the past couple of weeks that one mistake can lead to another, but on such a technical rally like this, it's a shame. There we go. 20 seconds of penalty. I knew it. He would have won the stage.
Wow.
I think if he did not get that time penalty, which is, I mean, that's I lost for words. Quite honestly, that is so unfortunate.
That's heartbreaking for Kamikaze.
The confidence that would have brought him. Well, to be fair, actually, the confidence that it brings you, even with the time penalty, you can take that into the next one. So I take that back, actually. You can use that confidence and say, I would have won that stage, so I'm going to take that and win the next one instead. So watch this space.
Yeah, very true. We have a saying in F1 that safety cars lead to safety cars, and here in WRC, we'll adapt it slightly. Incidents lead to incidents is what we're going to adapt here in the commentary box, at least for myself. Punju crossing the line then, I believe, to finish stage number 5, if I remember correctly. I'm just trying to make sure that I've got that. Yes, stage 5. 57th on our leaderboard at the moment. 20 seconds penalties as well for himself, and 28 seconds off the top spot.
Yeah, if you add 4 seconds for a reset after a penalty, that is again another very, very close time. So I think a lot of people may be backing off towards the top of the leaderboard, trying to save. As we got a replay here from Dirk. What was going on there? I'm intrigued. He was playing a replay.
Yeah, he has a thing on his stream where chat can trigger an instant replay, and obviously maybe an incident which they deemed replay worthy this time around. But on board with Adam Sanderson climbing up the hill to finish off the stage for himself. Radiator damage quite notably on the right-hand side, but the car actually looking in rather good nick.
50 seconds lost though in that stage. The car looking good though, so maybe just trying to not DNF the car and get it to the end, in which case he's done a fantastic job there. 5-second penalty, so he has had a few incidents in that one. But as I said, look, he's in the top 200. That is not a laughable position, and he's getting better and better, and it's so encouraging to see.
It is indeed, of course. It's a completely different kettle of fish stepping in from a very aero effect track car into these WRC cars, which you need to be able to throw into corners. Yes, they still have that aero effect. Yes, they have the downforce, but the type of surface you're driving on, the way you have to handle them, and unless you're at Monaco, you don't see scenes like this where the walls are so close to you. It's a completely different style of driving. As I feared, Dirk might have got himself empowered. He has indeed. He's managed to get free though. So good for himself.
Yeah. I was just about to mention, sometimes these cars can be a bit tricky to drive because unlike a lot of other four-wheel drive cars in the game, they do not have a torque distribution setting. So I think they are 30% distribution to the front and 70% to the rear, which makes them quite oversteery right from the start. But there's no way of adjusting it. So the power distribution, especially with battery deploying on the rear tires, can make it handle sometimes like a rear-wheel drive car. Oh, very close to the rocks there as well on the left-hand side. You have to be so careful. I think he missed it by just a few millimeters. Maybe the mirror might be missing off of that side of the car, like in real life. You see it so many times. But he does complete the stage, and it's a relatively good time as well.
Yeah, I won't be too disappointed with that. You can see a little bit of a sigh of relief, as I think he mentioned earlier. He struggles with the rally driving sometimes. It's very aggressive on your arms and shoulders with the wheels that our drivers have. Quentin flying over mountains, leaps and bounds for himself. But I wonder if we're able to get Adam Sanderson in for a quick chat. We haven't spoken to him yet this afternoon. And of course, after that earlier DNF, it'll be interesting to see how things went for himself. I'll drag him in.
Quick note there, just 2 seconds. Contam lost on that stage only. Very good time. Mr. Adam, hello. Welcome to the commentary booth. How is the rally going for you? Unfortunate mistake from you at the start. What exactly happened? Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, I don't think we have an Adam with us.
Hello?
Oh, there. Hello.
Well, that was very strange. You pulled me in and I was like, hello? Discord had a little bit of a moment. How are you all doing?
Doing very well. How are you?
I'm good. Don't know if you've been keeping up to date with my story, but I DNF'd on the first one.
Well, that's what we were just about to ask you about. What happened? We missed it. So you could have got off lightly if you never admitted that.
Nah, I don't mind. I'm here for a good time. Good time. I can't even speak. Good England. No, so I literally just went straight off a cliff, and I thought I was going to be able to hit pause and then reset the track really cheekily. It turns out, obviously, they've patched that, haven't they? In the update, if you do that, you've got to retire to the next day, which is fine. I understand it. It just makes it more realistic. I was just trying to cheese it. So I missed the really long stage, which, to be honest with you, is a good thing because I definitely would have DNF'd on that one. But yeah, since then, although I must say, the livery's disappeared. I made a special livery for today. It was on for half a stage, and it fell off the cliff with it, and I've not been able to apply it since.
Yeah,
it's an entire new car.
My what? Sorry.
Oh, sorry, Isaac. Go on.
Sorry, I interrupted. I was saying it's an entirely different new car. They brought just a second chassis for you.
Yeah, literally. I would have liked them to put the spray paint back on because I'm rocking the Connor Sport, but unfortunately, no. It's just the plain chrome. Which actually, I'm looking at my screen right now. I'm just looking at some replays where I damaged my radiator quite heavily, hitting that tree. But it's okay. We move.
The lines look a lot more confident this week. You seem to be more on top of how to drive the car. Do you get that feeling? I know you've made mistakes, but maybe.
Honestly, no. I haven't played the game in a good few weeks. Obviously, with the F1 game coming out, I've been on top of that, and I haven't played this game in about a month. It might just be because I'm absolutely sending it, thinking, what's the worst that can happen? I've already DNF once this game. So I don't know. I mean, to be fair, like I've always been I've always enjoyed like drift games and rally games like this. So it might just be showing through. You looked at my screen as and when I'm absolutely sending it. But like I said, I'm just doing it because I'm thinking, there's no consequence. Oh well, if I DNF, that's the second time. I'll live with it.
At least there's no hay bales for you for this week.
Oh
but,
my god.
We've dropped this bombshell on quite a few drivers so far. How are you looking forward to the rain in stages 7 and 8?
Is there?
There is rain coming.
Well, I've never. Well, like I said, I haven't played this game in 4 weeks, and I've never ever raced this game when there's been any kind of weather other than bone dry. So that'll be fun. I'm enjoying that.
I think you've had the most positive reaction out of most of the creators so far that we've dropped that news on in an instant. So
that's because they're sweating it. I'm here to just crash stuff and try and send it over a cliff as many times as possible.
Amazing stuff. Well, we wish you the best of luck with the remaining stages for yourself. I think 3 to go. And
Thank you very much.
We'll chat to you at the end.
Chat to you soon. See you later.
My
Adam
honest
will-
reaction to that interview: he doesn't know.
No.
He doesn't know about the
No.
rain.
I think Adam will definitely be one to watch later on in stages 7 and 8. I think the heaviest rain coming in stage 7, just in about 5 minutes' time for the drivers. Everyone else just finding their way through. Dirk Chocolate becoming creative with the lines he's choosing. Dark Viper here, I think just starting stage 6, if I remember correctly. If you're wondering why it looks slightly funny on your screens at home, Dark Viper is running a HDR screen, which doesn't necessarily translate too well through our broadcast system. So if you're wondering why darks look very dark, lights look a little bit overexposed, that is why. It's just the connection between us. I can guarantee he sees it a lot clearer than we do.
Paradoxically, I can see more of the road actually with this
Yeah.
HDR footage, so it might actually be a tiny bit of an advantage to be able to see in the darker conditions. But yeah, onto this very, very fast sandy stage, must be said, and Dark Chocolate's just approaching, well, the 3/4 mark now. As you can see, very, very fast. A lot of 3rd and 4th gear corners, a lot of trees to collide with. It's one of those sort of, I don't want to call it, well actually it is, it's a shorefront stage with the left-hand side on this direction being literally the beach and the ocean. You can see it just there for a glimpse of 2 seconds. So it does affect the handling, it affects the power of the car, it affects the driving style as well. Very, very tricky.
Yeah, it must be rather unconscionable. Obviously, you're driving through the stage. You're not necessarily sure how the tyres are going to react on the sand below you. I'm sure in real life, the wind and the gust coming off the shoreline would hamper the cars somewhat as well. But in here, I'm not quite sure how much an effect that will begin to have. You can see Dark Chocolate just about to reach the end of his relative stage. Dark Viper just making his way just over the 1/3 line. Everyone else kind of starting to settle in ever so slightly. They found their rhythm, found their groove, and starting to race to that. They're not necessarily pushing the car to its extreme limits. They just want to make sure the car now reaches the end.
Well, also has to be mentioned about tyre wear. I haven't mentioned it at all this point because they've been on hard tyres, but at some point the tyres will start giving into understeer or oversteer, so I doubt they'll be pushing 100%, maybe for the top runners, who knows, but very, very risky stuff. As across the line, 5 minutes 6 seconds, and that is a little bit of a moment at the end there. That's about 40 seconds off the pace according to my calculations.
Yeah, I think roughly about that stage number 6, Lee Pinetti. I'm gonna get all these names wrong once again. Maybe someday someone will teach me how to pronounce all the rally stages correctly, but today, unfortunately for the viewers at home, will not be that day. Dirk's just finished his last dry stage here in this week's rally. He knows the rain is coming for Samela coming on later on. Slightly longer stage than he just ran. Of course, the rain coming in could really start to throw things off for him. Dark Viper, I think, making his way through the same stage we just saw Dirk complete. Adam Sanderson and Quentin, I believe, on the same one as well. But Quentin has no headlights here, Isa.
That is slightly problematic, I'll say that much. Although it looks like, at least from our perspective, that he can kind of see the road. The good point about the sandy surface is that actually, even in moonlight conditions, it lights up quite well and you can see the road. But most definitely a lot of damage on that car then, because he did have his headlights a couple of stages ago. So probably a small off or something. It must be difficult for Contact coming from a predominantly rallycross environment to adapt to the stage environment of not pushing flat out. Obviously in rallycross and in most circuit racing ventures, you are pushing 110% all of the time as Dark Viper makes a small mistake. Oh no, that was around the hairpin. My apologies, Dark Viper. You're fine. The reverse jinx there. I'm commentating that he makes a mistake and he doesn't make a mistake. I've figured it out now.
That's how we do it.
It certainly is. But yeah, Contan seems to be handling it like a champ, quite literally.
Yeah, he's doing rather well. I reckon we might have been able to get Dark Chocolate in quickly. I don't know if it's possible. No, he's just muted up, unfortunately. So we will be able to catch him hopefully later on in the stage. But you mentioned the transferable skills between rallycross, between WRC driving, and potentially between other racing series as well. obviously you've got the likes of Leah Block in real life that's gone from doing rally driving to rally cross, now in Formula Academy. So for her, it must really be a transferable set of skills, but also really trying to change that mentality when you're on the track or on the dirt and the gravel, just trying to make sure you're in the right frame of mind for what sort of surface you're about to drive on.
Well, I would say also when you have the extreme talents that Leah Block has, you can pretty much jump in anything and drive it a bit like Ken Block. But
Hmm.
most definitely, the skills apply across the spectrum of motorsport. And these types of gravel stages can really teach you a lot about controlling the throttle, controlling the grip level, so that when you jump in like a single seater and hopefully not take a trip across the gravel track, but I was going to mention rain, which is very on topic for the next couple of stages, you can control the throttle a lot better and minimize the wheel spin, get less tire wear, go faster, etc., etc. So all of the top drivers, a bit like Kalle Rovanperä, has taken some time off to do some drifting events and other types of motorsport. He will come back to rally, and vice versa for our drivers doing it the other way around. They will come back with a new set of skills.
Yeah, driving is a very transferable skill. Obviously, there's minor adaptations you have to make depending on the type of driving you're doing. But here we go. Then Punju will be the first to attempt the rain here in Rally Sardinia, driving that Hyundai i20 Rally 1. As we previously mentioned, so far so good with the windscreen wipers on for himself. Kamikaze choosing to keep them off as he's on the front-mounted camera ever so slightly, but there is rain on his visor, narrow through the canyon. He's just managing to hold on and managing to make time somehow. I think Punju's just about to approach that same section. So let's watch and see how he navigates the tight and twisty section with rock forms on both sides.
Yes, damage and punctures could happen here. Oh, just clipping one side and then getting bounced onto the next. Gets through it though. I don't think there was any punctures there, but it is very, very easy. I just want to do a quick update on the times for the last stage, if I can get them up here. So Vlembar won that stage with a 4:18 so far. There are other people probably still to run. What do you mean was in third place with a 4:23. In terms of our runners, Ambient Mike was in 15th place with a 4:29, but the rest of our drivers falling foul to various mistakes, it appears like.
Yeah, it's one of those that can definitely happen. But speaking of Ambient Mike, I think we've got him in for a very quick chat. So, Mike, obviously the first few stages have gone quite well for yourself. Have you got to the rain stage yet? I'm just trying to keep up, or are you about to attempt it next?
I am just before that, so just finished up the dry night stage, which a little off the pace, but in a decent rhythm, I'll say.
Is the car still in one piece? Headlights still functioning?
Figuratively one piece. The car is actually doing a lot better than I was anticipating. I was trying to drive a little bit more conservative just to keep all the winglets and sticky uppy bits on the car.
So you're onto the medium tires now. You mentioned before that you had a lot of practice with them. Did you have some practice in the rain with those tires, though?
I did have a little bit of practice in the rain, yeah. Although that was on the soft tires, so definitely a different compound. So gonna have a little bit more interesting characteristics. I might even soften up the rear axle a little bit to see if I can gain a little bit more mechanical grip back.
We saw you turning the headlights on and off during your run here. We're watching your replay back. Any reason for that, or was that just a misclick of the headlights?
Just a little experimentation to see how visibility is in case I either lose the light pod or need to turn them off. In this game, definitely the lights are pretty intensive on the CPU, so sometimes it's a little better to choose to have them off. But this stage definitely dark enough, definitely needed.
Yeah, we saw Quentin having to run the majority of the stage without it, but the track being in its sand and gravelish form, it really started to shine in the moonlight, helping him guide his way through the twists and turns of the tree. So managing to make it through for himself. How are you faring? How are you feeling for the rain stages yet to come?
I'm looking forward to them. I was taking a look at my overall position. I'm somewhere in the 30s, thanks to my puncture early on. So I'm hoping to claw a little bit more time back on those stages and maybe see if I can get up into the 20s or so.
Amazing. Is there anything further before we let Mike catch on with his last couple of stages?
I'm very reluctant to say anything. I've given enough bad luck to drivers. Just turn the windscreen wipers on. There you go. That's a good bit of advice.
Hopefully I won't forget my umbrella. Thanks, gents.
Thank you so much, and we'll chat to you a little bit later. Awesome stuff. Well, as he's about to get himself prepped and ready for the final couple of stages, Punju and Kamikaze making their way through. Kamikaze flipping the car 180 as they made their way through one of the hairpins, just making sure that the car's round.
Punju with the 360 there. I just want to point that out. He did an immaculate 360 in the stage. On the reverse as well. Incredible. Like a Colin McRae-esque recovery. What an amazing style through there. I think we should remove 5 seconds on his overall time for that one. That was pretty impressive.
I'm impressed he managed to hold it together in such a fine art form. Of course, the rain will slightly hamper the traction the tyres have on this sandy, gravelly sort of underlay they have under the cars. But if he's managed to hold it and pull it back together, that shows the skill that Punju really does have. Of course, he's our Season 1 champion for a reason, running through the hills once again. Just about to reach the end of this stage, the penultimate stage of Rally Sardinia. And of course, this is the heaviest the rain will get. It was looking like it's going to get lighter, just running up the banks on the left-hand side, but still keeping that car in a straight line. Final few bends. I believe he's got to go, I think, probably just over a kilometre or so until he reaches that red flag to end the stage.
Yes, indeed. Even if it does stop raining, the soil here, very clay type soil, and so it will have just absorbed the rain, keep it there, and it takes a while for these stages to dry out compared to the sandy environment that you'd have on the lower stage. So yeah, even if it does stop raining, I think the grip will remain very, very low. And so for the final stage, even though it's not going to be raining as much, it's going to be very, very tricky. A 5:55 there for Mr. Kamikaze. I will go and check that time compared to the others.
Yeah, very
So a
respectable.
5:34 was the fastest time, just for context.
Wow, very close between the top of the leaderboard for sure. Punju just coming across the line now, 6 minutes 13 for himself. We wait with anticipation to see where he finds himself on the leaderboard. We briefly switched to Adam Sanderson just a few moments ago. In that brief moment that we saw him, he's taken a rather large crack on his windscreen, so maybe lost of traction beneath the tyres for himself, but that surely is going to hamper the view ever so slightly.
It can happen that you just clip a low branch. It's happened to me, and I know a lot of people it's happened to, where you don't actually get much damage from it, but just the visibility is hampered. That being said, radiator damage, so obviously there's been some sort of front impact as Dirk just going off the road at the end of the stage. He's literally within sight of the finish line there. 3 corners to go, but can he get it back on the road? It's looking like he's just losing so much time here. And he's back off the road again. That's the 3rd time. He just can't. Is that the road there? I have no idea. There we go. He's got back on the road, but incredible Dakar-esque stuff once again. I can't believe it. Just every single time, just went up the bank, slid back down it, up the bank, and that's just how slippery it is on the grass, but also on the stage in general.
Yeah, of course. So you mentioned earlier there's no specific rain tyres here available for this event. Most drivers probably, if they save to set, will be running the mediums, which will give a decent level of grip here on the main road surface. I can't guarantee it will give much when it comes to the grassy embankments that some of our drivers have found themselves on. Speaking of grassy embankments, Adam Sanderson's in a tree for whatever's that been, probably a numerous time this afternoon. He finds his way probably about 2/3 of the way through this stage at the moment. Not long left for him to go, but there is a jump heading up. Let's see if we can navigate that successfully. Across he goes. The car starts to lift its front. We saw that in earlier rallies in Season 1. The car just wanted to almost take off and point to the sky. Some drivers just adjusting their setups to be able to deal with that in the more jumpy style environments. But for Adam Sanderson, just managing to get through mostly unscathed at the moment.
Yes, it can be very, very tricky once you've got the confidence, because the front of the car will just start lifting because essentially the front splitter, a bit like in other forms of motorsports, like touring cars, even some of the GT cars, most of the GT cars, I must say, they have a huge front splitter which restricts the airflow under the car and creates a lot of downforce. If you lose that, even in rally, and he goes all the way onto his roof, flipped, and he's just got to press. Yeah, go forwards and then back onto the stage, not flip the car. Good stuff. Lovely recovery, but once again, 5 seconds lost. It adds up. But yeah, essentially, he just understeered into that corner and thought the grip was there. Once again, here, just getting caught out by the same things over and over again. But once you lose that front downforce, it can become very, very understeery. That's for sure.
Of course, and as you head through the stages like this, where the aerodynamic grip might not necessarily be there in terms of straight line speed, you want as much as you can get to try and pull that car down to the surface, albeit very slippery and technical in its nature as they continue through the stage. Adam was looking rather happy with what just happened. I think he was rather impressed with his driving skills, and immediately ends up in the right-hand side of those embankments and immediately back to focus mode. You can see the eyes staring at the screen. Little bit of an exclamation of maybe some impatience. The car's rolled again. That chrome, I believe, Toyota Hyundai i20 that he's running just finds itself on its roof for the second time in just a mere number of corners.
And I just want to point out as well, because that was the same corner that Dirk got caught out by. He must have been so close to a reset penalty, because Adam got a reset penalty there. So very, very lucky, actually, in hindsight for Dirk.
Indeed, it is. We can see on Dirk's screen on the top left at the moment as he finds himself once again in the shrubbery here of the Italian hills. The rain actually looks heavier in this second stage than it was on the first, which is counterintuitive to what our weather radar was telling us at the outset of this rally. It definitely looks heavier from the driver's point of view. I wonder how difficult that is under each of the tyres, trying to gain traction, trying to gain grip as they try and pull that car through the final stage here. One of the longest stages in this rally, the world record set about 7 minutes 15. We're expecting probably our creators to take between 9 and 12 minutes here.
Yes, the current fastest time is Vlembar once again at 7:42, but after that, the times just increase exponentially. Second time is 7:54, well, 55, call it, because 54.9. As you can see, Dirk really struggling to get some grip here. Worth noting again that this is the sandy type surface, so you will just have absolutely no grip because the sand will be giving way underneath your tires. And yeah, misjudging the notes there, just taking one gear too many. Once again, it's you're trying to apply the Formula One technique sometimes of trail braking, and it doesn't always work in rally. Sometimes in rally you want to brake before the corner, lift off the brakes, and then turn in. It's a very, very tricky style to master, especially if you're used to circuit racing, and I think that's what might be catching him out right now.
Yeah, if I remember correctly from what I've learned over the last couple of seasons, it's almost you want to brake, get the front of the car pointing down. That gives a little bit of extra grip to the front tyres, and then that's what allows you to turn in. I think I've been taking notes over the last few weeks. I'm fairly sure that's how it works. Please correct me if I'm wrong here.
Yeah, that's certainly correct. So, unlike lots of, he's just gone for a complete spin. The rear tires just locked up completely, and he was just a passenger there. That's the first time I've seen that actually in this title here. Just completely losing the rear grip and spinning out. I'm surprised actually, but hopefully it starts to go better. Maybe get some heat into those tires and eventually gain some grip. It's looking like a very, very tricky stage for Dirk. But you were correct in saying that if you start braking, there's a lot more weight transfer in rally because the setups, especially on gravel and snow, are a lot softer. So you get a lot more of that body roll, so the weight goes onto the front and then you can turn. But if you're still braking and you start to turn, even with the weight on the front, the grooves of the tires won't grip the stage as much, and you'll just end up sliding. And conversely, if you get on the power too quickly as well, you'll just end up removing the weight from the front tires and then understeering off. It's such a fine art. You have to be so under control and consistent. And for Dirk, I think he's overdriving the car quite frankly. And once you start doing that, it can be very difficult to regain focus and sort of say, I'm losing so much time just going sideways. Have I tried just backing it off a little bit?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Dirk Chocolate, of course, with a lot of experience in Formula Series racing, not necessarily as much here in the World Rally Championship cars, but he knows what to handle when those back wheels lock in different kinds of cars. Maybe just caught him out here, as you said, you've never seen that before in this title. So maybe for Dirk, just one that he hadn't experienced before. Wasn't quite sure the correct technique to be able to recover the car as well as he would have liked. Quite equally, on the right-hand side of the screen, we're on board with Punju, just making his way in the rain through the final stage here of Rally Sardinia. Just trying to make his way till the end, make sure the car makes it, and that's what's going to be very important here for our drivers. Just get across the line, get a time on the board, and sure, that will get you some points on our creator standings.
Well, bizarrely enough, looking at just the driving here, Punju doesn't seem to have any of the problems that Dirk is having. I'm wondering, is there some other issue with the car, like a damaged bodywork, lack of rear wing, maybe some diffuser damage or something? Because, well, I say that as Punju's off the road, but it was looking good up until that point. The mechanical grip of Punju's car seems to be a lot higher than Dirk's, and I'm trying to find an explanation. Obviously, it's very easy for us to commentate about this and say how easy it is to drive on a rain stage from the commentator's box, but I can assure you it's very, very tricky, and just for them to get through this stage is an achievement in itself. Power stage points as well, I must add, on this stage, so keeping it consistent, maybe even just getting to the end and finishing the stage could bag them a few points.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I can just see above Dirk's camera on the right-hand side of his screen, it looks like he's got radiator damage in that Hyundai i20. So I wonder if he's got a little bit more front damage than he was initially letting on. Potentially some bodywork damage as well, just to pair it up with the radiator starting to overheat. That might cause him trouble in the long run, but for now I don't think he's going to be too concerned about it as he tries to make his way through this first couple of stages. Just make sure that car gets to the end as he finds himself going through the shrubbery once again.
Yeah, I have not seen this section of stage, that's for sure. This isn't in my pace notes, and I was right now I know where he is. Far off the road there, and unfortunately, it just seems to be going from bad to worse. And there, he has lost the front bumper as well. So he first lost the bonnet of the car, and now the front bumper is gone. The understeer will get even worse, sadly, from this point onwards. One of the most tricky stages because you go from that sandy surface, very low grip, as Punju's now got radiator damage. I just want to point that out as well. He's taken a little bit of a hit. But sometimes these cars run so low to the ground sometimes that maybe just taking a little knock to the front with like a rock on the side of the stage can be enough to damage a radiator. So it's very easy sometimes to get damage.
Yeah, you're exactly right, of course. One thing that we haven't really mentioned much in these broadcasts is the telemetry that some of our drivers use. I mean, you can see Punju and Dirk Chocolate using kind of the bog standard style with your rev counters and your speedo and your boost measure all in one, whereas look at Kamikaze's at the bottom. You can see the throttle application, you can see your delta time, you can see the car you're driving, but also you get a much clearer indication of your overall position on the track.
Indeed, indeed. It's a very, very nice overlay he's got there. Working right now seems to be 0.0 for all of the splits. That, or he's extremely consistent. I wouldn't put it past him. But there's other stuff also, like the you've got another bar showing how far you are into the stage, which goes along with the split time. But some alternative ways of seeing how much the hybrid has regenerated and all of that. Very, very cool overlay. I might nab that one myself, to be honest. I just wanted to point out as well that on the previous stage, Contan's just into stage 8 now, into the power stage, but he was first. A stage win for Contan in stage 7 by 2.2 seconds. Incredible pace.
Fantastic stuff for our debutant here this afternoon. Interesting, there's a distinct difference in the rain between some of our drivers. I think the rain easing off as they make it their way to the end of the stage. You can see Punju and Kamikaze top right and top left of your screen respectively. Looking at a rather brighter Italy as they reach the end of the stages. You can see the progression on the left-hand sides of each driver's relative display. I think Punju isn't far off. Kamikaze just crosses the line. 8 minutes 18 for himself. A little bit of frustration. Punju, though, what is this? He's gone rolling in the Italian hills, upside down, and it's a 30-second reset penalty for the man who was our last season's champion. A big shock of awe, as he's not quite sure what happened. Vlembar, as you can see, takes the top spot in this final rally. I'm trying to have a look where Kamikaze did finish, waiting for him to scroll down to his name. Hopefully we'll be able to see that in just a brief moment. If not,
we're done.
I'm still
I think that's
mesmerized by
P18.
that crash. That is
that
that
was-
is one of
yeah.
the biggest crashes I've seen. That was. I don't want to know how close that was to rally ending. It's looking like the car is second hand, obviously, but that was close.
Yeah, I think it starts to challenge our producer Gareth Allen's famous roll. I think it was back in Rally Sweden, where I think it was 18 different barrel rolls that he managed to achieve. You can, of course, check that out on our social media page. I think it was put up just a couple of months ago. The laughs that go along with it make me chuckle every single time. Bungie, though, just making his way through the final stage. Sun is starting to shine once again. Rain's just ever so slightly spitting as he makes his way through the final few corners.
Yes, and I think he will be happy that that is the last stage right there, because I don't think that car can do another stage. I think he's got a puncture as well. It certainly looks like it. Just incredible end. He definitely has a puncture, yeah. One of those things, you've seen it so many times in real life, just something going wrong in the power stage and losing all of that momentum they built up and doing all of the donuts there. Incredible amount of donuts. The tires are not needed anyway. We can use all of the tread off of those. And I will now go and try and find where he is on the leaderboard.
Amazing. I wonder if we'll be able to get Dirk Chocolate in for a quick chat just to end off his rally. Dirk, talk us through how those final couple of stages were for yourself. We can see you slumped down in the chair, almost defeated by this rally. How's it gone?
Terribly. A complete contrast to my last one. I'm so tired. That was mentally enduring. It wasn't even like, I don't think I drove badly. I know I drove horrible. That's a lie. I drove like absolute, like, what's the dog doo-doo? There we go. But like, yeah, it's taking everything out of me. Absolutely everything. That's so hard. Imagine having to do that in real life, man. That'd be I'd be thinking about like life the whole time, thinking, yep, it's gonna end in a second.
Well, judging from some of the reactions from drivers in the real life rally this weekend, yes, they were also thinking it was quite a long rally sometimes. They definitely had to work for it as well. Obviously, with the amount of corners, the amount of braking zones and blind crests, I think it might be, in my opinion, I'm not sure in yours, Dirk, but it might be one of the most tricky rallies.
Yeah, I think that's one of the hardest things about it. Because if you can like get a nice visual aid of where you're gonna go, it's fine. But on this, you're just relying on the pace notes the whole time, and it's like you go around these fast corners, and it's like I'm praying there's not a rock at the other side of this. Because if I'm gonna go a little bit wide and feel it, and then sometimes there is, and you just whack it. Or there's a tree randomly every now and then as well. That's always good. I don't like gravel. No, sorry, I lie. I don't like wet gravel. Wet gravel is awful.
That's another quote for the season. I don't like gravel. Well, it's good for you, because this is definitely not a rally game with a lot of gravel this season. I'm sure it's fine. I want to bring up one moment there, which we've just seen on the replay. What exactly happened at that corner? I have never seen that happen, where the car just rotated 180 and you
that
seem
bit.
to have lost all grip.
I think I just went in too hot. This bit here, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I just lost too much. I think I put in too much because I was trying to counter steer, but I just went in too hot. So like the medium tires, wet surface. I was hoping it would Scandinavian flick to the side, but it literally just there was nothing.
Well, I mean, technically it did. It Scandinavian flicked to the right, but you wanted to go left, unfortunately. So on the 50-50, you kind of lost out there.
I was trying to do a Doc Hudson turn right to go left, and it went right.
And now I've got that clip of that movie in my head playing
Yep.
indefinitely. Thank you for that.
Right? Yeah, it just didn't work quite. Yeah, I tried to. I was hoping it would hook up again and go the other way, but there was nothing. There was no grip. Hence why I was just struggling the whole time. It was horrible.
A rather unlucky moment in the rally, but at least you're at the end, and that's what matters here. It will be some points on the board for yourself. I want to briefly talk about next week, though. Obviously, it's we're going to Chile in the 4-wheel drive Group B cars. I can see the fist bumps. I'm guessing that's a little bit happy for yourself.
If I recall, I don't like four. No, it's the front wheel drivers I don't like. 4-wheel drivers might be okay. I don't know. I think I'm just good at rear wheel drive. Like, but I'm thinking about it more and more. And I'm like, rear wheel drive I'm content. 4-wheel drive I hate. Sorry, not front wheel drive I hate. But 4-wheel drive I'm like, it's weird. I don't know why. I think it just doesn't make sense in my head. I don't know why. It's a bit of a weird one. Yeah, I don't 4-wheel drive. I'm not a fan of. Look at that. I want to say so many bad words that I can't say.
save it till we're off stream. But again, congratulations for getting the car to the end, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Yeah. If I'm crying again, you know why.
Oh, amazing stuff. Thank you, Dirk.
See you guys.
Well,
there's so many quotes from that interview. I don't even know where to start. I think the average reaction of a driver that's relieved to get to the end. Speaking of getting to the end, 2 drivers here around the last corner. Well, be right halfway around the last corner. Managed to get out of the bushes there and across the line for Contan Delolmo. Is he going to go for? Wow, okay, even more stylish.
Absolutely
the
beautiful.
360.
That was perfection.
Say no more. Say no more. The world champion at it. There you go.
Yeah. We're done. Go home. You can't beat that, everyone. Congratulations. Maximum points. That is style points for the reigning world champion, B-Roy, coming across the line as well. But it'll be interesting to know how these guys thought they did. I wonder if we'll be able to get anyone in for a quick chat. I think everyone's starting to unmute now. As they reach the end.
Contan was 34 seconds back on that stage, so not another good stage, unfortunately, for Contan. But I'm sure he'll be relieved to at least have one stage win. That's always one thing that you want to have. If you're having a bad rally, you at least want it to go well. 12th place overall, 3 minutes down on the leader, but it just proves how difficult this rally has been in that there are literally near enough 3 minutes between the top 10.
Yeah, I just saw as he was scrolling through the timings, Ambient Mike just pipped out Kamikaze by mere seconds on the leaderboard. B-Roy 169th in the event at the moment, so not too bad for himself. I think he'll be happy to be within the top 200 at the end of this stage. Everybody else, I think Punji's definitely finished. Adam Sanderson has also finished. I think they've all got to the end of the stages. I'm just trying to check on all the monitors, but yeah, everyone gets to the end of the stage successfully. No major DNFs, and that's always a plus here.
Indeed, and in a rally where I did expect to have some DNFs, not by going off the stage, but by taking too much damage. That is very surprising, but it just shows how much improvement we are seeing from the drivers. They might be making mistakes still, but eventually those mistakes are becoming less and less severe, and the confidence is rising. I think we might see an event before the end of the season where most of our drivers do extremely well.
Exactly that. Well, we haven't spoken to Dark Viper yet this evening, so we thought we'd bring him in for a quick chat. Viper, first of all, congratulations on making it till the end of the stage, but talk us through how the rally went for yourself.
I've been up since 6 a.m. I've not done any practice, and this was my best rally yet. I beat Punju in 2 stages. You know, I was going to retire there and then, but I kept going. Like, I'm actually so happy with that one. That was so fun. I loved the wet stages on slick tires as well. That was like insane.
That is the contrary to what Dirk was saying when we had a chat with him just a moment ago. He was really struggling with the tyre and the track combination, but obviously for yourself, you really enjoying it. Obviously, maybe the car ever so slightly more drifty than the initial stages.
I have no clue, man. I was falling asleep before this started. For some reason, I decided to really flat out push in the last one. I think I was off the track more than I was on it, but I was like flat out the entire time. I'm so tired right now. Like it's all gone out of me.
Well, you know what they say, you have to forge your own path sometimes in life. Sometimes best not to not take it literally, but it worked in some stages for you. I thought that maybe you're being a bit harsh on yourself. The lines looked good, the speed looked good, and obviously unfortunate mistakes. But if you're tired and you're rallying, it's so difficult because the corners don't repeat, do they? So you've got to remain sort of conscientious of what's going on.
Yeah, my brain's gone like every week. I'll have to take like a 10-minute break to like finally get back to normal. Like it's so much different from F1 because like it's the same thing over and over and over again. Whereas in this, there's so much to take in. Oh,
I've
Well,
found you on the leaderboard, 151st. I was looking
That's-
for you.
PB ban. Like,
nice.
oh no, like can we just talk about my second stage, like the really long one? I got a first puncture, I repaired it, and then I got another one for like half the stage. It was the slowest, most painful thing in my life. I lost
no.
so much time there alone. That was my worst one. I wasn't pushing to begin with, because usually I push, destroy the car. I was like, let's just take it slow and not destroy the car. So I was slow, and I destroyed the car, so I just said, screw it, let's just start pushing. And I didn't crash as much, which is weird. Just
It's always
locked
a
in,
benefit.
Yeah.
But no, at least you made it to the end of the stages. You made it onto the standings, and I'm sure you'll get some good creator points this week. Next week, of course, the Chilean rally in the Group B four-wheel drive cars. So
Of course, yeah.
back to a little bit more of a standard rally car. In a more traditional sense, I'd probably to say that to avoid insulting some rally fans. How are you feeling about going back to that?
I look forward to all of them, to be honest. Like, I don't sweat. I literally only figured out you could change tires like last week, So I'm still learning the game. So I'm just here for the vibes, and to beat B-Roy, of course.
Of course,
Sorry.
that goes without saying. We haven't spoken to B-Roy yet post rally, so I'm sure we'll interject that in. But no, first of all, well done, Anna, and second of all, we look forward to seeing you again next week.
Thank you, guys. This was fun.
It always is. It's been a pleasure, Dark Viper. Well,
just a note, he did in fact beat B-Roy because B-Roy is 169th place.
So he's managed to beat his
goal. He did
goal.
in fact succeed. Yeah, he did succeed in that. So not as bad as he thought.
Amazing stuff. And that's what we always say. There's always someone to try and challenge against in the club. Of course, if you want to join it, it's all on RaceNet. You can go. It's free to join. I think there's no limitation on skill level because trust me, driving on a pad myself, I'm not very good at the game. But we get till the end. Let's get Quentin in, shall we? I don't think we've spoken to him much this evening. And let's have a brief little chat. Isa, I'll let you take this conversation as we drag him across.
My stream works correctly, so I will
Mr.
fix it
Contan. Mr. Contan, can you hear us?
Hey, hello, yeah.
Hello. Welcome to the broadcast. Some very, very good stages. Stage 7, a stage win outright, but maybe a few crashes, mistakes. What was your analysis of this rally?
Yeah, in fact, the stage 7 was the only one that I really worked. So I knew the stage, and I knew that I had to push really hard on this one to take a little bit of time because the other stage were more complicated. I had 1 or 2 crash, and that cost me the top 10. But yeah, overall it's quite nice. So it was it was really interesting. But next time I will try to prepare a little bit, and it should be good. I hope.
Gauntlet thrown down. What do you think you struggled with most, or what do you think really threw you off? Just lack of preparation, or was there something in particular?
Just lack of preparation. I mean, I didn't know the stage. I raced with the default setup, but this was just the knowledge of the stage, mainly, because the stage 7 I knew the stage and it was quite good.
Fair enough. So we've got Group B in Chile coming up next. What's your interpretation of that?
I never raced Chile. and I almost never race Group B, so it's going to be really interesting.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is stage wins after stage wins. Got you. Understood.
No. No, maybe just don't crash. It's good. It will be a great success.
Yeah, well, it was very impressive to see you even just darting through the stages. It's sometimes even without headlights. Was that on your stage win? I think it was just the stage before, but the pace
Yes.
was mega impressive.
Yes, at the assistance, I repaired the lights, but since the body shape was not fixed, I didn't have the lights, so I had to make the whole stage without the lights, and it was quite complicated. But yeah, at the end, I was happy with my pace, even if I lose, so many times. But at least I didn't crash, so it was good.
Amazing stuff. And first and foremost, thank you for coming along and partaking and showing up a lot of our creators. It's been absolutely fantastic to follow you through the stages, see the lines you're taking, and I'm sure a lot of the creators will be watching this back and learning from you as well. And yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you come and race with us.
Happy to hear that, and yeah, thank you for the invitation. And yeah, next time I will fix the stream a little bit, and it should be better.
Amazing stuff. Well, thank you so much, and I'm sure we'll see you next time out.
Yeah, I will try definitely. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Well, we'll drag Quentin back. We've got a couple more interviews to finish off this afternoon. I think we'll be able to get B-Roy in just for a one penultimate chat. We'll finish off with Punju to finish off for last one. But B-Roy, for one final time this week, we'll have a quick chat with yourself. How did it go in totality? Now that it's all over, you can vent the frustrations and move past Rally Sardinia.
Woo! It's over, baby! Thank you, Lord. Oh my God. No, that was probably the worst rally I think I've done. I mean, I've complained, like I've fallen off a cliff in on Monte Carlo. I've DNF'd in a lot of places, but damn, I finished this. I can easily say this is the worst one I've finished. This was probably my worst week. And I thought last week was bad. Nope, this week was bad. But glad it's over. Glad it was glad at least we got some content out of it. It was fun to at least get some content out of it, but I'm glad it's over. Let's put it that way.
Well, I was looking at some points where it was more like the Dakar than it was a traditional rally stage, but you seem to cope well and kept pushing until the end, so credit for that. We've got Group B Chile coming up next. Do you rate your chances on that one?
Yeah, you're just gonna. I'm gonna just walk off screen. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. No, I'm not ready for that. We just did Group B already last week. I don't know why we're doing it again this week, but especially on the toughest. Chile's road, right? I think
It's no gravel.
Oh, man, even worse. At least we don't have to deal with ice on the road like we did in Monte Carlo. But yeah, that's gonna be Man, why do y'all choose tough rallies, man? This is playing a toll on me.
Don't blame us in the comments. Blame Punju. This is all.
Oh, I've done nothing but blame Punji. I'm just saying it out loud for everybody to hear. But no, I'll be back next week. Whether or not I'm gonna survive, that's a different story to tell. But you know what? It'll be fun. It'll be fun for everybody watching next week. I hope everybody enjoys it, and better tune in and you better race yourselves. You can experience the pain with all of us. So
just on the closing notes, do you want the bad news or the bad news?
should I just walk off camera again? Is that an option?
Potentially. So you said there was no snow next week.
No, I did say there was snow.
How do I tell you this? How do I tell you this? Light snowfall I'm seeing on stage 1.
All right. What's the other bad news?
That there's heavy snowfall on stage 3.
I have a third bit of bad news as well.
Oh God, lay it on me! Come on, keep it coming, keep it coming. Let's go.
We spoke to Dark Viper earlier, and he said his only challenge this week was to beat you, which he did successfully.
All right, how do I unscrew this?
I thought I'd lay it on all at once. It will lessen the burden, right?
All right, you see this? This is a bunch of Allen keys. I'm taking apart the rig as we speak.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, I'm glad Viper got his little W. I'm glad he got that. He'll get it next week too. Hope everybody, like I said, hope everybody did enjoy the racing today. Definitely get yourselves involved, and I'm looking forward to speaking to you all next week. Hopefully not while I'm stuck in a ditch and DNFing twice. But we'll see what happens. Anything can happen next week. So.
Exactly that. Well, fingers crossed for you, mate. And you always bring such a positive attitude to these, even if the results don't necessarily go your way. And it's always a pleasure to chat to you at the end.
Hey, we're here all for a fun time. And thanks for commentating. Thanks for everybody watching. And we'll see y'all next week. Much love.
See you next week, B-Roy. And it's always a pleasure. Thank you.
Pleasure, boys.
And wow, I think we've got one final interview just to round it off. We'll bring in Punju. Just to round out the stream. Oh, he's already in here. I was going to drag him across. Punju, welcome in to the final interview of this week. How did Rally Sardinia treat you?
And the final interview. I'm so
You
blessed.
are.
Yeah, we get to end on a high note, right? Or a low note if you look at my driving. It was a great time, regardless of the rolls, the flips, the crashes, the cries, the tears, the sadness, the blood, all the stuff. Outside of that, it was an amazing time, and I loved it. It was great. No, actually, all jokes aside, it was actually really fun. I love these stages. I feel like Rally Italy is like a smoother Rally Greece, and you know I like Rally Greece. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I'm going to just interrupt the. I'm sorry. I see a dog at your door, and he's looking rather. You better give the dog some pets later on. Just from all of us here on stream, a few head taps, making sure that the doggo Punju is well looked after.
Come over here, little girl. She's an old senior dog, so she's slow to do things. Oh, yep, that's cool. That works out. He's not hanging out with me. Her name is Sage. It's a great one. But yeah, it was really a fun time. I really enjoyed this rally. I'm glad that we got to do it. It was obviously the IRL crossover. I think the Hyundai was the move. They obviously won in real life, so maybe it gave me a little bit of extra good luck, but not quite enough. But we did get fourth, I think, overall, so we'll take it.
Did have also that awesome 360 in the last two stages, I think, where you just hooked it into reverse, did another 180, and then went straight back on your way. Must say, impressive.
I think I had like 4 of those, if I'm being honest with you. None of them intentional whatsoever. I actually did on the very first stage, coming out of like the rallycross section. That right 4, and then it's the left 1. I just like lost it on the right 4 coming out of it, and then had to just commit to it and pitch it through. And it was not the fastest way, but it was the coolest way. I'll take that. So yeah, few of them.
Bonus star points at the end there.
Yes, exactly. That's the only points I was going to get anyway. So I'll take what I can get. I'll take what I can get.
No, as always, it was superb driving from yourself as well, and I'm sure we'll be able to update the standings for next week. So we'll see where everybody finished and see where that puts everyone on the creator board. But just talk us through next week's track as well. Chile in the Group B cars. What was the thinking behind those?
Yeah, I didn't think about that. I'm going to say this one. That was all Vlembar. So round 4 is the champions round. So last season's overall champion, Vlembar, was given the opportunity to pick a car track combo, whatever he wanted. And he, for whatever reason, said, I would like to do a snowy Chile in Group B 4-wheel drive. And I said, snow the whole way. He said, snow the whole way. So it is snow on every single stage. And
someone better one B-Roy.
Yeah. I will say I did pick the stages out of the event, so it's my fault that the power stage is also 35 kilometers. That's my fault. But it's gonna be hilarious. You have to do BO if you're gonna do Rally Chile. So we're doing it. Yeah.
I didn't bother checking about the power stage, and now I've just checked. My brain has just gone into overload right now. 34, near on 35 kilometers in spaceships. That's going to be impressive.
Spaceships on snow. Let's add.
Indeed, and
it doesn't give you
30-year-old tires.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I believe it does not give you snow tires either. It gives you like regular gravel tires, if I recall correctly.
Wow.
So
Indeed.
it's a hilarious car track combo. It is so silly. So if somebody is fast here, that is the most impressive thing I've ever seen in my life.
Well, we'll wait and see what happens next week. Punju, as always, it's been a pleasure to have a chat with you. Your dog is so cute,
She
and
is
we need to
great.
see more of her as well.
She likes to make celebrity appearances every once in a while, so I'll make sure she jumps in more often. I'll put her on the wheel.
Fantastic stuff. Yes, no, don't put the dog on the steering wheel.
Dude, she'll probably go faster, honestly. I've got pictures of it. She's quick. Yeah, she's a heater.
MVP of the live stream.
That she is. All right, y'all. Thanks so much. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you so
I'll
much,
see you guys,
Punju. We'll see
see
you
you next
soon.
week.
Oh, that actually cracked me up right at the end, and that was a perfect smile to round out the broadcast. First of all, a massive shout out to all of our creators and drivers that have taken part this week, and also the people at home that continue to put in rally times competing with these creators. It's absolutely fantastic to see. There's always someone to challenge and partake with. So if you, even if you're not the fastest, there'll always be someone on the leaderboard you can try and chase down. And yeah, join it on the race. I'm sure there's a link in the description if you're watching on the YouTubes. But for now, that rounds out our broadcast. Isa, any final comments from yourself, and also where can they find you?
Well, first of all, say a shout out to the production crew as well, who do a great job on putting all of the images on our screen and making sure that we have all of the inputs and views of crashes, let's put it mildly. They do a wonderful job all the time. You can find me on anything that is amusing. You can see it right down there. And yes, if you want crashes, unfortunately, I have quite a few of them. So there you go. Jinxing doesn't also apply to only other people. It applies to me as well, sadly. I haven't found a fix for this, let's call it a glitch, but hopefully I'll find it at some point.
Amazing stuff. Don't forget, all of the Creator Series socials are just above our heads. All of the links on YouTube, Instagram, X, and of course TikTok as well. Massive shout out, as Isa said, to Gareth Allen, who's been behind the broadcast this afternoon. He does an amazing job keeping all of the screens available for us to look at and make sure we can bring you all of the content as it happens. If you're watching on the EA Sports WRC official YouTube channel, you can check us out again next Monday when we return to your screens. If you're watching on any of the Creator Series channels, we will see you on Friday night when F2 returns around Canada for some fantastic racing. Just a reminder, the F1 broadcast is brought forward an hour because it clashes with real life qualifying, so that will start at 5 p.m. UK time on the Saturday afternoon. But from all of us here, I'm at the Mousemeister on every single social media. But for now, it's all of us done here, and we will see you very next week. Good night, everyone.